Hi, good afternoon. Today is February 27th, 2023. It is 3 p.m., and we're here for the administrative meeting. And there's two of us today, Sandra Kelly and myself, Maureen Laughlin, and we're here with Bill Belnoff, and there's a series of other people who we'll probably hear from during this meeting. So let's move on. How about the approval of the Administrative Committee January 23, 2023 minutes?
I think we should approve them.
I do too. Consent. Okay, second one. Earth Day celebration, alcohol use request in East City Park. Amanda Agruno.
All right, good afternoon. So per standard operating procedures, we've been working with Parks and Rec to get this a little more streamlined. Since we typically deal with community event applications, which often have alcohol use requests in the downtown business district, we are also processing alcohol requests through the community events division for events in East City Park. Any events in East City Park still have to go through the typical Parks and Recreation Parks reservation process. They come to us for the alcohol portion per city code. And so this is an annual event held by Inland North Waste, pretty standard. They anticipate one licensed beer and wine vendor in a beer garden estimated to be 25 feet by 25 feet. And so in your packet, I believe, was the resolution that's been drafted and reviewed by legal. And so we're recommending approval. And Stevie is here with Inland North Waste if you have any questions specifically about the event. And I'm happy to answer any questions about the process.
I just have one and not any concern about not having it. And it's funny that it's Inland North Waste here because I always think later, I'm like, oh, I should have asked this. Does the event organizer themselves figure out the recycling from the beer garden, or is that from the vendor itself?
The event organizers, and that is, I believe we have something on a resolution on the books requiring some recycling.
Well, I knew there was. I just was thinking, I know I've done it for other groups, but I've only like supervised the beer garden or sat in it and enjoyed people coming in. But I didn't know if there were two separate recycling things or not.
I think it's the event organizers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. That's my only
I
question.
think we have no problem with that.
Yeah.
This one.
Okay.
So consent.
Absolutely.
Consent.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks for doing it again.
Hey, thank you guys. Hope to see you at Earth Day.
You know it.
Okay. Lewis and Clark State College and City of Moscow Facilities Agreement. Chief Nickerson.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
We've been working with LCSC for the last 5, 6, 7 years on their associate's degree program. And now they're moving forward with, they actually hired a manager to manage the associate's degree program through LCSC. Actually, it's retiring Chief Travis McElbust out of Lewiston. So he's kind of, in June, he'll effective July take over as the kind of director manager of the program. So this will help solidify us working with LCSC and offering our facilities and so forth. Some of our people do go to LCSC for class, both fire program and regular, and other programs. So it's a good opportunity to partner with somebody and have them come up and train with us. So
yeah.
So is it joint training?
It's individual training, joint training, whatever we figure out to do. But they'll bring a whole class up here and do live fire training at our facility. So that way it's just part of their class programs. But we won't interrupt into their program.
So our students
but
don't
we
participate.
can, not unless they're in their program down there.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, is we offer ours internally, but also they can go back and get the same degree through LCSC as well. So we just offer it internally because we have the people to
Facilities.
do it and the facility to do it.
No, I think that's great. I've watched LCSC's programs. There are a lot. I went to school there. I graduated in 2014, and I know that was always a real push. So it makes me happy to see them collaboration and the work we do.
I think we do a great job of that. Even when we're getting rid of some of our fire trucks, you're like, okay, we can get rid of this one and use ones that we had no more use for. It's very collaborative. So thank you. And I think consent agenda.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Looks good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks,
You bet.
Chief.
You bet.
Okay, now we're at 23 Moscow Farmers Market Handbook. Amanda's back with us.
Oh, good. Okay. So each year, the Farmers Market Commission has a small policy subcommittee that reviews the handbook from the previous year, changes for consideration to come forward before council. Also, it's an opportunity for vendors to get in the handbook. Just as a reminder, the goal of the subcommittee is really to keep the policies aligned with the mission and vision. And we're wanting to make sure that what's happening with the policies is also happening with like on the ground operations. So those two together. This year's policy subcommittee was made up of 4 Farmers Market Commission members, Josh Larson, Mackenzie Lawrence, Carrie Morsek, and Jenny Parker. They had 3 meetings and roughly anywhere from 10 to 15 hours outside their normal commitment to discussion that goes into these things.
Do you attend those meetings as well?
Yes. And then after each policy subcommittee meeting, things are brought forward to the Farmers Market Commission for a complete review. It's a great time to check in with the commission as a whole, make sure we're headed in the right direction if there's things they want us to kind of reconsider. So this was last year's front cover of the handbook. It's been updated already for 2023, which is in your packet. As we go through these slides, we're going to sometimes see the original and the revised together. If there was an actual just addition, if there's no highlights, it's because there was such an overhaul that it was difficult to highlight the changes. So we'll go through those. There is a small revision. The original highlighted portion in there. We added the word regional, and we took out the farmed and or created agricultural products. By now, we know what the definition of agricultural products is, so we just felt that was a little redundant. Our core values and philosophies, we actually, ironically enough, had a long philosophical discussion about what does this all mean and why do we have these. So the first obvious item, if you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, local production. All vendors shall be the grower producer. That's actually already like a standalone policy. So it's a little redundant. We took that out. And then as far as agricultural focus, we've been wanting to make that a core value for a while. We also felt like it needed a little bit of refining. And then economic development and economic opportunity were 2 items we felt like could go hand in hand. And so the proposed revisions, this is what it looks like. We are emphasizing that we want our vendors, at least 50% of our vendors coming from the county. We're definitely hitting that mark. I think we're about over 70%.
Can I ask you something really quick on that? So, and it might come up later.
Yeah.
But that doesn't count as regional then. So you're going to add, because it said local and regional.
Yeah.
Is this covering both or is it?
So
separate?
it's just our emphasis, but
Okay.
it doesn't necessarily mean, it's just that because a lot of people look at local as typically 100 air miles or coming from within their county, we still want to make sure that we're still driven by our local populace. And those are the majority of where our customers are coming from too. Agricultural focus. We have really talked about this actually for the last year and a half. This 50% of the market's footprint occupied by vendors selling products for the majority of the market season. We've actually been doing this for quite some time. Our previous goal or value was that we were wanting to have our roster be 50% of ag vendors. We were never going to reach that.
Yeah.
Between our prepared food and our craft vendors, it was just never happening.
Mhm.
I'm going to keep going unless I get a,
Yeah. Like dropped out.
yeah.
Do these work? That one might work, Amanda. Do you want to check?
Okay, but did you count?
We're good? Okay.
Say something like majority of the market season. I know that some people like Tana Makers always comes like a month after it
Mhm.
starts. So do you still consider them
Well, yeah. So the market season is 6 months, and so really 4 months would be the majority.
Right.
So yeah, and that's really important for our market in particular. May and October are really shoulder seasons. Growing seasons can change from year to year, but generally when folks show up, they're showing up, and then they're there throughout the entire season. And then we just continue to refine the economic opportunity. The commission is really wanting folks to have collaboration with other independently owned and startup enterprises, sourcing direct from farmer when possible, direct from other small businesses, and then cleaning up our community and information definition. So basically no more philosophies, just core values.
Nice.
But really just making sure those things make sense. And a lot of things that we do, such as the craft and food juries, reflects back to these items. So it's really important that we keep them intact. Our youth vendors, we added 2 highlighted portions. Specifically, there were some questions that came up this last year of, can youth vendors actually get penalties at our market if they're not following the rules or if their parents aren't following the rules? We wanted to explicitly state that yes, we hold our youth vendor program the same as our adult vendors. So the youth are expected to be the ones that make the items, that are actively selling the items. Parents can help count back cash and, help set them up. But really, it's about the youth. And so we just wanted to sort of iterate and make sure it's very clear that, if they consistently can't make our market policies, that maybe this isn't the best opportunity for them. Same thing, we just added one small item. Booths have to be set up by 8 a.m. That can be really hard. We've learned over the years, sometimes youth get really excited at the beginning of the season, and then as the summer drags on and the heat drags on, it's harder to get out of bed. And sometimes it's the parents that are really driving it, and we want it to be driven by the youth, so it's an enjoyable experience for them. So again, those were the only 2 additions to the youth vendor section of the handbook. Market operating policies. This was very wordy. This was our vendor spaces, specifically talking about space assignments. I won't go into all of the changes here, but essentially what we wanted to do was make sure that folks weren't being penalized for really weird growth. And not just growing season, but weather event season. Last year was really rainy, so it doesn't just affect the ability for farmers to get to market because they can't get their crops in the ground or can't harvest, but it does affect some of our craft vendors whose products are sensitive to the weather, such as like wood vendors or card vendors. So we shortened it up a little bit, but we just want to make sure folks understood that they're not going to be penalized for those weather events or anything that's going to delay or impact their products.
So they have to call you up and tell you that they're not coming?
Yes, that is a requirement. Again, here, we're just seeing the revised, not the original. We just added in this highlighted portion. One thing that we're realizing as folks and anyone coming from all walks of life, there's deaths, there's births, there's family reunions, elder care, that sort of thing. So we just want to make sure folks absolutely understood that there are circumstances in which case that they could not be meeting their attendance requirements, but they just need to actively communicate with us so we can work with them about that.
I love that.
Yeah. And that is everything as far as the changes go. So I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. The vendors all received a monthly email with these changes, a welcome letter with these changes. Youth vendors, parents of youth vendors received these changes. We got feedback from 2 parents of youth vendors and 3 market vendors.
What were the parents of the youth vendors concerned about?
They weren't concerned about, there were some concerns about product, making sure that it was still something that the youth had to make the product. But as far as concerns go, they were quite happy with the additions that they were seeing in there.
Can they have friends over and bake together or something?
Yep,
Or do they-
but they're just restricted because the youth vendor section is really congested. They're just restricted as far as on market day, how many folks can be in attendance in their booth. But yeah,
It
absolutely.
was more like making it.
Yeah, they can absolutely do that.
How many youth vendors are allowed I should know that. And I don't.
So we try and designate 3 spots to our sprouts, which are the kids that are, I think, under 12,
Yep.
and then 3 spots to our junior youth vendors. Juniors have a little more flexibility. They could, if they wanted to, get scheduled into the rest of Main Street into like a half space with a shared adult vendor if that space is available. But maximum is 6.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do they pay a lot less for the little booths than they do for the bigger ones?
They would pay the same amount for like a half space, like if they were sharing it with an adult vendor. No youth vendors can have a full space assignment unless they've gone through a craft and food jury process. And if they were to go through that and receive a qualifying score, they are then subject to adult vendor fees, and that's spelled out in the handbook.
Nice. That's great, Amanda. Thanks.
I appreciate all the organization and the work that goes into this.
Yep.
It runs very smoothly.
Yeah.
Great.
So do we just have to say yay, approve this and put it on
Consent
consent?
decree.
Approval and consent?
Yep.
Great, we got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we adjourn, or do we have any other issues? Anybody else?
Any staff?
More complete.
All right. Let's adjourn.